Hello, my name is Beth from the Education Alliance. The Education Alliance exists to mobilize business and community support for public schools. One of the things that we are most passionate about is partnerships to increase college access for students. And today's virtual visit is made possible with support from the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission. Today, we are very excited to be visiting Marshall University for a 50-minute college virtual visit. Throughout the visit, I'll be stopping. I'll stop a total of 3 times in the visit for a Q&A session, and we want you to interact with us. So if I ask you a question, please pause, talk to your students, and chat your class's answers. Also, if at any time your students have questions, you can send us those in the chat. So let's practice that. Please chat what school you're from and how many students are with you today. We'd love to know what school you're from, which we can see on the chat, but I'd also love to know how many students are with you today. So while you're doing that, I am going to turn the tour over to Buffy from Marshall University.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, I'm from Marshall University. I'm the special events coordinator. So kind of my duty to meet with schools, whether it be virtual like this or on campus. And just so all the teachers know, if you were interested in bringing your students to campus to check everything out, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll have my contact information at the end of this presentation. I would love to have your students come visit campus. We take everyone, elementary, middle school, high school, it does not matter. So feel free to come join us in person. I am a graduate of Marshall University. I graduated in 2019 with my bachelor's degree in journalism. So even though I'm a trained writer, I also have picked up some communication skills that I'm now using with you guys today. And that's one of the many things that we're able to do at Marshall. A lot of our degrees sound like one thing, but we teach the skills that allow you to get a job in just about anything. So in this presentation, I am going to talk a good bit about some of those different programs that we offer, kind of the different careers and jobs that you can get with those programs. But I'm also going to share a little bit about what I love about Marshall and my experience coming to Marshall, and how that looked for me in all different ways, including financially, because I know that's a really big question for a lot of folks in the West Virginia area. So we'll go ahead and get started with this short 30-second video. And this video, I think, really encompasses who we are at Marshall University.
We are the early risers, the go-getters, the all-nighters, innovators, pioneers of the future, leaders, uniting all to work together, creators, the artists that inspire, champions, who never stand down from a challenge, family, with a bond that will last a lifetime. We are.
Yeah, so I have to say that every time I see that video, I love it so much because a bunch of my friends from school got to participate in that video. So every time I see it, I see their faces again. And for some of them, I haven't seen since we graduated together. So it's really exciting to see that video. But like I said, I think that really kind of goes over who we are at Marshall, what Marshall means to us, and potentially what Marshall can mean for you. So next, I kind of want to talk just some quick facts about Marshall. And to help me talk about some quick facts, I recruited a fun, familiar, hopefully familiar face of Marshall University, and he asked me to pass along some information from him. So I would like to introduce everyone to Marco the Bison. Marco is our friendly neighborhood bison who might actually love Marshall more than I do. It's kind of hard to beat, but I think he has me beat. He is all about spreading fun and cheer and cheering on the herd. He wanted me to share with you guys some important info and some important facts about him. He says that his favorite color is green, which I respect. My favorite color is also green, even before I came to Marshall. So he's got really good taste. His favorite song is Thunderstruck by AC/DC. And some of you may have never heard of that song. I would encourage you to ask your parents about Thunderstruck. I'm sure that they would love to share that song with you guys. His favorite movie is We Are Marshall, and this movie is actually shown on Netflix. So if you haven't seen the We Are Marshall movie, ask your parents to sit down on Netflix tonight and have a family movie night. It is a great way to see about Marshall history, kind of what we have come from and who we really are today. If you're a Marvel fan, you may even recognize some folks in the movie. And some of Marco's hobbies include walking around campus, meeting with students. He loves going to all of the herd games. You will see him at football, basketball, soccer, swim and dive, all of those different sports. And his probably number one favorite activity is taking photos and taking selfies with the Marshall family. So if you do ever come and you're on campus and you see him, definitely run up and take a picture because he would love to meet you. So just some of the basics about Marshall University and who we are. Our namesake is John Marshall, and John Marshall is the 4th Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. And if you're not really sure what a Supreme Justice is, you might have heard the name Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She recently passed away a few years ago, but she was a great example of what a Chief Justice is. Now, John Marshall, he actually has the longest standing service as Chief Justice in the United States. He served for 34 years, which is crazy to think that he was in that type of position for so long. He was around in the early 1800s. He passed away many, many years ago. And just 2 years after his passing, Marshall University was founded. A lot of people think that John Marshall founded Marshall, that he created our institution, but it was actually his best friend, John Laidley, that decided to start this teaching school. It's what we started as, and named us in honor of his best friend. We are a Division I athletic school, so if there are any of you that maybe have dreams of playing sports on the collegiate level, we're kind of the best place to do that. Being in Division I, we offer a lot of opportunities, and we are a really big athletic school. Now, I will say that if you're maybe more like me and you're more of a, I want to sit back and relax and watch sports type of person, we do offer free tickets to all of our students for every home game that we have, and that's no matter the sport. So all of our students at Marshall get to see all of our sports teams play at home. Our student body currently sits at around 12,000 students. I know that that might seem like a really big number, but we only, hello. We do only have about 18, 19 students per class. So it's really similar to the class sizes that you might already be experiencing. So don't worry about feeling like you'll get lost in the crowd at Marshall. We truly recognize all of our students. We do have over 150 majors at Marshall. Now, I promise I am not going to go through all of those with you guys today. What I would like to talk with you about is what we call academic colleges. So these academic colleges are just ways that we kind of group our programs and our majors together. So you're around people who are studying similar things to what you are studying. Beth, I don't know, this might be like a good break for a question before we get into some majors, if you wanted to go ahead and do that.
Yes, this is a great stopping point. Thank you. So I would like for you guys to, before she goes into the academic colleges, maybe there's a question that you all want answered during your time with us. So teachers, ask your students one question you want to ask this college. What's one question you want to ask Marshall University? And Buffy can answer it either now or later on in the presentation if she knows that she's going to be hitting on that. So we already have one question, Buffy. It was, do you accept blind students?
We do. We accept students with all sorts of different, not only physical disabilities, but also learning disabilities. We have something called TRIO, and we have something called our student support services. And these are areas on campus that are dedicated to helping all different types of students from all different backgrounds. We even have specific people on campus that help with international students who maybe have experience in language barriers. We also have an autism training service center, and they provide services to students with autism as well. So we will happily accept really anyone, no matter what your background is, or don't feel like if you are maybe scared about coming to college because of being blind or whatever it may be, don't feel scared about coming to Marshall because of that. We have all the sources and services and resources that we could have.
Wonderful. Well, I don't see any questions at this time, but if any more come through, I'll let you know. Thank you for answering that one. And let's
Perfect.
continue.
All righty. So first up in our academic colleges is the College of Arts and Media. This college holds a very special place in my heart since that is the part of Marshall that I graduated from in journalism. In the College of Arts and Media, we have the School of Art and Design, School of Music, School of Theater and Dance, and School of Journalism and Mass Communications. In our School of Art and Design, we have those things that you think about with art, like painting and sculpting and drawing and all of those really fun creative things. But we also have ceramics, so working with pottery and different things like that. We also have fibers, so working with clothing, any sort of physical fibrous material. We also even have printmaking, so learning how to make your own custom prints that you can use on t-shirts or whatever you could possibly think of. It is a super creative area of campus. In our School of Theater and Dance, we have a few different options to choose from. We have some programs that are specific to performing, whether it be on stage or maybe if you were interested in, becoming a Hollywood blockbuster actor or actress. We also have programs that can get you on the road to that. We even do production. So maybe you're interested in theater or film, but more on the background side, more behind the camera, behind the scenes, where you're making costumes or doing makeup and stage makeup, or even something as far as lighting and even directing and screenwriting. So all sorts of different options for you there. In our School of Music, we do not only offer performance-based majors, but also education-based majors. We have a lot of students that come to Marshall and they get what we call double major in education and in music. And they're able to go on and teach music at all sorts of different levels, or even get into music therapy and art therapy, things like that. And then in our School of Music, we have a whole bunch of different ensembles. So these are different groups that are like the marching band, which we call Marching Thunder. We have the Sixth Man Band, which is a smaller version of Marching Thunder, and they always play at our basketball games. It's kind of like a jazz band type. We even have something called the John Marshall Fife and Drum Corps. If you have never heard of that before, totally makes sense. It's not common. But fife and drum corps were popular in colonial times. So think those big crazy hats and kind of the poofy pants and jackets, things like that. And they play actually traditional colonial music on traditional instruments. It is a really cool group, and we are one of the only schools in the entire nation to have an ensemble like that. And we even have those for singing. I'll tell you guys, I am not a singer at all. You do not want to be around me when I'm doing my little concerts in my car. It does not sound good. But we do even offer different ensembles, not only for those who have a lot of experience in singing, but even those who maybe just sing for fun and as a hobby. In the School of Journalism and Mass Communications, we have a student newspaper. It's called the Parthenon. I got to write for the Parthenon for a couple years, which I love doing. We also have WMUL, which is a radio station. And what's really cool about the Parthenon and the radio station is you don't have to be a journalism major to take part in those. You could be studying geology and maybe you do a weekly show on the radio that talks about geology and rocks and sediment and all of those fun, crazy things. So something else to keep in mind. We do also have a sports journalism program. If you were maybe interested in being that person that's on sidelines at football games and is reporting, or an ESPN news anchor, we have programs that can get you started with that. And in saying that, we do have a partnership with ESPN Plus at Marshall. So all of our students get experience in working cameras and doing sideline reporting for ESPN Plus. So that is a really cool thing that we offer. Next up is our Lewis College of Business. This specific spot of campus is kind of unique for a couple different reasons. One being that we are in the top 1% of business schools in the entire world. Our business school competes on an international level, and we really are the best of the best. We're also unique because our current university president, Brad D. Smith, is a graduate of the Lewis College of Business. If you are familiar or know anything about the Huntington area, there's a small town nearby called Canova, and Brad grew up, and that's where he got his start, was in Canova, West Virginia, came to Marshall University, got his degree, and then he became the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. He was literally out in California running a huge company that it kind of overarches things that you might hear your parents talk about, like QuickBooks or TurboTax, things like that. He was head honcho for that for a long time. And then he decided to come back here to Marshall and be back here with his Marshall family. And we are definitely very thankful to have him here. He has been fantastic, and he has a lot of really cool ideas for what Marshall will look like in the future. And these are changes that you guys might end up seeing by the time it is ready for you to come to college. In the College of Business, we have those different things like marketing, management, entrepreneurship, things like that. But we even have sports business and administration. So we have people that are learning to go on and become managers and coaches for different athletic teams. We even have a program that is focused in international marketing and affairs. So people who are kind of working stock markets in the UK or even in Japan. And then we also have a really cool program that not only allows students to learn what they need to learn to start their own business, but you can even get scholarships and grants that can then help you jumpstart that business when you graduate. So lots of really cool things happening in there. And then next up is the College of Education and Professional Development. Now, like I said before, we did start as a teaching institution. So we have been teaching future educators for almost 200 years. It is really crazy to think about how much time has passed as we have been Marshall. And during that entire time, we have been teaching teachers. We teach everything K through 12. So that's kind of what you guys are in right now. We also even teach for things like special education, school counseling, or if you maybe wanted to become a school principal or vice principal, we even have programs that can get you started with that. One of the things about our College of Education, and something that you may want to go ahead and start thinking about if you're interested in pursuing education, is an exam called the Praxis. And the Praxis is a pretty big and intense exam for college students to take to get and finalize their teaching degree. In our College of Education, we have a Praxis Study and Learning Center. So it is right here on campus, and we have specific professors and counselors that are all about teaching and helping those students get ready for that big exam. So we do have a great partnership with Cabell County Schools. So all of our students get to experience hands-on learning and teaching in classrooms, even before they start student teaching, which is something they have to do for their degree. So these are things that happen as early as a student's second year, which at a lot of other schools, they may not get hands-on learning until their last year or until their student teaching. So that's kind of a more unique thing that we are able to offer. For any of you all that might be in and around the Cabell County area, you might have experienced a Marshall student or two that has taught your class, and you'll probably experience a few more coming in the fall. Then we have our biggest college. The College of Health Professions covers a lot of different areas, but this is also where the majority of our students are. Because of that, we have a couple different nursing programs. So if any of you are thinking about going into nursing, we have many different programs for that. We have some that will help you gear your career more towards travel nursing. So if you were interested in being a nurse and traveling the United States, or even sometimes traveling around the world and providing care, we have programs for that. We also have dietetics. So that is a area where we kind of joke that you get to cook and eat food for class a lot of times. So that picture there actually shows some of our students in Huntington's Kitchen, which is here in Huntington. And it is an off-campus location that is a really big kitchen. And that's where they can learn a lot about nutrition, how to prepare food. And one of the other big things of that program is helping people with eating disorders, or helping people who have maybe had a serious medical emergency or injury that makes eating difficult for them. They can learn all of those different things. We also have athletic training. So back to the whole sports thing, like I said, we're kind of a big sports school. We do offer this program that can help you be that person that's on the sidelines. And when a player gets injured, you're rushing out onto the field, helping work out a tight muscle, or maybe even splinting a broken bone. Some really crazy things like that I definitely could not do. And then we also have things like respiratory care in the College of Health Professions. So this means that you would be the type of person that helps people who have maybe had breathing problems, especially now that we are coming out of the COVID realm. We are seeing more and more of health-related issues like that. So it is more important now than ever, I think, to have students and have people trained in that area. And then this could potentially be our most fun or maybe most unique college. This is the College of Engineering and Computer Sciences. I will go ahead and tell you guys, I do not understand most of the things they do in this college, but it is crazy cool stuff. They are always on campus doing all sorts of silly things, and all the time I wish that I could understand it, but I definitely cannot. In the College of Engineering, they have things like civil engineering, which that's kind of the stuff where you might see people surveying land. That is a lot of civil engineering. They also do electrical engineering. We have mechanical and even biomedical. And biomedical engineering is actually really cool. It is teaching and helping people build and create things like prosthetics or pacemakers, those different types of medical related technology that people need to better their lives. So that is a really cool program that we offer in its own state-of-the-art facility here on campus. In computer sciences, we have things that you think about with computer sciences, like building computers, programming, coding, and we also do cybersecurity. So we have folks that are learning how to protect networks. A friend of mine, actually, when he graduated with his cybersecurity degree, he went on to become the head of cybersecurity defense for the United States Air Force. So he is working a really, really cool job in Washington, D.C., and he does attribute a lot of that to what he was learning at Marshall and the connections he made here. One really cool program that not a lot of people know about is our video game design program. So we have a program that is all about teaching students how to build and code and design video games. So any Fortnite players out there, you could learn how to make video games like that. In the College of Liberal Arts, it's a little bit more geared towards those who are kind of more like me, more about reading and writing and things like that. In the College of Liberal Arts, we have English, creative writing, history. We have humanities, which covers things like sociology, which is kind of the study of people. We also have psychology in College of Liberal Arts. We have a couple different psychology programs based on if you want to get into psychology research, or maybe you want to become a therapist or a counselor of some sort. We do have those programs as well. We also have some really cool language programs. One of those is a Japanese program, and it's not just about the Japanese language, but it's also about the culture and the history as well. And I had a friend of mine go off and they ended up now living and working in Japan of all places. And they were actually a Boone County native. So it is really interesting that they have now moved to literally the other side of the world and are living and working. And then we also have political science and liberal arts. We at this time do not have a law school at Marshall. I've still got my fingers crossed that it's going to happen one day, but we do have pre-law and political science. And this is kind of what can get you started and get you into law school when you're ready. In our political science program, we have a lot of great professors that are also involved in some of the local political scenes here in Huntington and in the state of West Virginia. So these students are getting to really experience things, especially this time of year. We just ended our legislative session. You might have heard your parents or teachers talking about some of that. So some of our students were actually in an internship where they were working in the Capitol building during that time and getting to really experience what that looks like. And then we have our College of Science. Now, obviously, when you think of science, you probably think of like biology, maybe chemistry. We even have physics. We also have things like geology, which is all about learning about fossils and rocks and sediment movement and things like that. I know some of you might be like, who would want to study geology? But they're able to then go and work in like state parks and national parks. And basically, they're getting paid to camp out and be out in nature all the time, which I think is really cool. We do also have environmental sciences. So that is things learning about conservation of wildlife, but also just how we can live a little bit more sustainably and things like that. So lots of cool things. And then in the College of Science, we do have pre-medicine and pre-pharmacy. So if you were interested in going to pharmacy school or medical school, we have those programs that can get you started in that. And speaking of which, we do have our own School of Medicine and School of Pharmacy at Marshall. So if you were able to get into one of those pre-med or pre-pharmacy programs, you have a better chance of getting into our medical and pharmacy school as well. We also just recently added an aviation program. So any of you interested in maybe flying planes and traveling the world, we have a program that is teaching folks to do that. It's housed in the Charleston Yeager Airport, and those students are actually living and studying at West Virginia State University, but they are Marshall students. Luckily, West Virginia State wanted to work with us and be able to kind of join together and provide our students and their students. So, and you can see in that picture, we have these really cool green Marshall branded airplanes. I kind of joked with my mom that I was going to go back to school so I could go through this program and learn how to fly planes. She didn't seem too excited about that. And then we also have something that we call University College. And University College is kind of where you can go if maybe you're not really sure what you want to study. I know at this point, thinking about your future and your career can seem somewhat exciting, but also a little scary. And I will tell you, even sometimes at 18, when you're coming to college, it's still a little scary and exciting. And sometimes you're just not entirely sure what you want to do. But our folks in University College, they can help kind of navigate those waters with you and help you figure out maybe what type of career you would like and what type of major will help you get to that career in the best and most effective way. this, I think, might be another little spot for another break.
Absolutely. So much information there. Marshall University has so much to offer. Thank you so much for telling us all about the different colleges. I personally went through the College of Education and can say that no matter what you choose to study, Marshall will support you, and they have a wide variety of things that you can do. So I want to ask the students that are with us to please think about what's something surprising that you have learned about Marshall University so far, or something you liked. So in the chat feature, tell us something surprising or something that you really like about Marshall University so far. And I'll just say, for me, I was surprised to know that you guys had a video game design program now, which is super cool, and I'm sure it's very popular.
Yes. Yeah. We have had a lot, especially here recently, a lot of students been coming in and getting involved in that program. I'm really excited. There have been some talk about some students doing a big project and making like a Marshall video game, which I think would be really interesting to see how that comes about and what that looks like. I'm not really much of a gamer myself, but I would definitely play a video game that was centered around Marshall.
Absolutely. That would be very cool. Also, I have heard about the aviation program,
Mhm.
but to me, that is something so super cool, so innovative. And at the Education Alliance, we actually are going to be visiting and having an event at your aviation school in May. So we're
Awesome.
really excited about that. So if any of you all would want to attend that, teachers, or Buffy, if you would want to attend, it's going to be, I'm sorry, it's not in May, it's in March 30th at the aviation school.
Perfect.
So we do have a question coming in, or just some comments from the West Virginia Schools for the Deaf and Blind. They said they liked the information about music, computer science, and the history program. And some of her students are curious if you have dorms. So if you'd like to maybe talk about campus life a little bit, they want to
Yeah.
know, do you have American Sign Language interpreters?
Mhm.
And again, Mayan Middle School, they also said they like the video game design and the aviation programs. So
Yeah,
I'll turn it back
so
over to you. If there's any more questions coming through, I'll let you know, but go ahead and let's get started.
perfect. Yeah. So, well, to answer your question about the dorms, in terms of campus living, we have several different options. For our freshmen, we have freshman only dorms. So that way, those students that are sort of experiencing the same things that a lot of first time freshmen experience, like homesickness or now learning how to manage their own time and things like that, are kind of all together. We also have Buskirk Hall, which is where I lived. It is a girls only dorm, and it's the only one gender dormitory at Marshall. So women, if you were interested in being in a community like that, Buskirk is a great option. We do, of course, have Towers East and Towers West. These are the two really tall buildings that you might have seen in some pictures of Marshall. And those are probably the most popular housing option at Marshall. That's where the majority of our students live. They are co-ed dorms, but in Towers East, we do have a floor that is safe space housing. So it is for any LGBTQ plus students, any non-gender conforming, non-binary students that can choose to live on that floor and kind of be around some of the same folks as well. So that is a really cool thing that we now offer. And then we do have our commons dorms, and commons are 4 buildings that are kind of around each other in a square. And there's a little common area in the middle. And we have different learning communities in those dorms. So in one of the dorms, there is a floor that is for mathematics students. There might be another floor of like psychology students and different things like that. So you're kind of living around some of your classmates, and it makes it a lot easier to study and stay a little focused. I will tell you guys, I was very, very bad about if I was in my dorm, I wasn't the best at studying. Had I lived in a learning community, I think it would have been different, but I did spend a lot of time at the library instead. I will go ahead and say, in terms of campus environments and campus living, a couple cool things that we have is the Marshall Rec Center. It's kind of like our on-campus gym, but it is a lot more. We have a really nice pool that also has a hot tub. I spent a lot of time in that hot tub as an undergraduate. We also have basketball courts. There is a rock climbing wall. It's 3 stories tall, so it's a pretty good sized rock climbing wall. We also have free weights for weightlifting and strength training. That was an area of the gym that I'm not familiar with. I don't like lifting heavy things. And then we also have an indoor track. So it is a track that goes around the inside of the building, and it is up on the 3rd floor. So you kind of get to look out and across the rest of the gym sometimes, which can be kind of funny in some cases. But like I said, lots of different options in there. And then we also have our Memorial Student Center, and the plaza of the Student Center, where our memorial fountain is housed, is a really great study spot and lunch spot for students. Obviously, on a day like today, where it's pretty cold, a little bit snowy in a lot of places, it's not so much fun to be out on the plaza. But when the weather warms up, if you're on campus, that plaza will be packed full of students. And that is something that, even though I work on campus in a building, when the weather is nice, I will sometimes take my computer and go and sit by the fountain and kind of be back in that college environment again. So that's just a couple fun things about our actual physical campus. So to jump back into the presentation portion, to kind of talk a little bit about what's next for you guys. I know that when I was in middle school and even elementary school, when I was starting to think about college, there were a lot of what ifs and a lot of questions, a lot of different things that, I really wasn't even for sure what I didn't know. So I'm going to try to maybe cover a few things and maybe help you start thinking about those next steps in coming to college. So to begin with, one of the questions that we do receive the most is, how will college help me reach my career goals? In a world like we are in now, where you can do a lot of online training and online certifications and different things, it can be a little difficult to maybe see how college can best benefit you. One of the things that we like to talk about is that getting a degree, whatever that degree looks like, if it's an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, a lot of that is not only teaching you the skills you need in your chosen career field or in a job that you want to get, but it also gives you the space and the time to make mistakes. That is one of the biggest things about college that I didn't know until I got here, that college really is a lot about making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, learning how to move past those mistakes and be able to become better for it. And being in college really allows you to kind of have some boo-boos, have some hiccups, and not have to worry about your job being on the line like it is in the real world. So that is a really big benefit. Also, in all colleges, not even just at Marshall, they do kind of offer the space to connect you with professionals in your area. I will say that for myself, one of my very first professors in my first semester at Marshall ended up being the reason why I got the internship that I did in school. He helped me meet the right people, and it kind of opened up some doors for me that I didn't even know were possible. And I'll talk about some of that in a little bit. And then also at a lot of different universities, but Marshall specifically, we offer career services as part of the student experience. So career services is an part of campus that not only helps you build your resume, but they can help you write cover letters for internships and jobs. They can set up practice interviews. So if you're getting ready for a job interview and you're feeling kind of nervous, you can reach out to them and they can help you practice for that interview. one of the cool and really unique things about our career services is they service all of our alumni. So once you graduate Marshall, it's not like you're just out on your own. You can still come back to career services and they are happy to help, and it's completely free. So that is also another way that we try to make sure that students are reaching their goals in their career and getting into jobs that they want to have. One of the things too that college can do is open some new doors that, like I said before, you may have never even thought of. And one of those ways is that you meet a lot of unexpected friends. During my first year at Marshall, actually, even during orientation for Marshall, I was meeting students from all over the world. And I am from a very small town in West Virginia. And I'm sure a lot of you would probably agree that your area may not be that diverse. But then you come to college and it is literally a whole new world. So many people from all different sorts of backgrounds, and some that I ended up having more in common with than I could have ever anticipated. My current best friend who I met in my first year at Marshall is from El Salvador. And whenever we met, we were in different programs. We came from different parts of the world. We even though he speaks English, he still speaks Spanish, which I do not. So in my mind, I thought we're never going to have really anything in common. And as it turns out, we're basically the same person. And since building that friendship, I have been able to practice Spanish a little bit more. I'm still working on it. We're getting there. But also just learning about how he grew up compared to how I grew up and how that affects us as people today. And that's something that I wouldn't have had the opportunity had I not gone to college. I've also been able to get very heavily involved in the Huntington community. One thing that I never had the experience of when I was growing up was really being able to do community service. There really weren't a lot of outreach programs. But now not only do I get to participate in that, but I even get to work with programs in the Huntington community that are centered towards kids. So over the last summer, I got to work at one of our local community centers, and I was teaching journalism and teaching social media to young kids and kind of opening their world up to some possibilities they hadn't even considered. And that's something I would have never had the experience of doing before. And that's something that I really can attribute not only just to Marshall specifically, but also just being in college and being around a lot of like-minded people who also have some of those same goals and the same drive to do things like that. And then, like I mentioned before, I did come across a pretty unique internship experience thanks to that one professor that I had. And that internship experience was with our university communications department. And that's the department on campus that handles marketing, PR, and those sorts of things for the university. And I got to become their social media intern. So during my time in undergrad and a little bit of my time in grad school here at Marshall, I was actually the person that was running all of the Marshall social media accounts. So if you've seen some of the Facebook posts and Instagram reels and live tweets of sporting events, that was me for about 4 years, which was something that I never even considered to be a job. I had no idea that people could work in social media and not be an influencer, since that's typically what we think about in social media. And that's something, like I said before, had it not been for that professor introducing me to some specific people, I would have never found out about that opportunity and had gotten to get that experience. I will say that even though I don't work in social media anymore, that is one of the coolest experiences I ever had. And it has helped me so much in not only learning a little bit more about myself, but also learning about my own career goals and pretty much what I want to be when I grow up. Because I'll tell you guys, I'm definitely not grown up quite yet. And then probably the biggest question on everyone's mind is money, tuition, fees, and bills. Oh my. Unfortunately, college is expensive. That is something that is kind of unavoidable. But what we can do at Marshall is offer a lot of ways to get scholarships and get what we call free money. So, money that you don't have to worry about paying back after you graduate. We offer a lot of different types that help go towards tuition, fees, your housing bills, and things like that. I will tell you all from my own experience as well. I am one of the lucky people that I was able to come to Marshall and I had all of my undergraduate paid for without taking out any student loans. So I graduated college debt free. It is kind of an anomaly. It's kind of a rare thing to see people do that, but we are currently working on a program called Marshall for All, where within the next 10 years, our goal is to make sure every Marshall student graduates college debt-free. This coming fall, we will have the first 100 students going through this program and getting to get their college education for free. That is something that you guys are in the perfect position because there'll be a couple years to work out some of the kinks before you all are coming to college. And by the time you're ready, you have a really high chance of being able to experience college without taking out any student loans and without having to worry about any debt coming after you graduate. Some of those things that I did and that our students are able to do to kind of make that happen are what we call merit-based scholarships. These scholarships are really cool because you don't actually have to apply for them. They are based on your GPA, any outstanding achievements that you had throughout your school years, and then also your ACT or your SAT scores. I'm sure some of you might have already taken or will be taking pre-ACT or your PSAT test to kind of get you ready for those exams. We offer some different scholarships based on those scores. So all you have to do is submit that information to us when it's time for you to do that, and you'll automatically be matched with these scholarships. And as long as you maintain a 3.0 GPA, you'll continue to receive that funding for 4 years. So that is a really big help. One of those scholarships is called the Presidential Scholarship. It's about $3,000 a year, and that's what I received as a student. We have some that even go up to $9,000 and $10,000 a year, depending on your scores. So it's definitely possible. And this is definitely the time to start thinking about that and making sure you try to keep your grades up as much as possible, because it can really help you when you get ready to come to college. We also have private scholarships. These are scholarships that you do have to apply for, and they have all sorts of different requirements. Some of them are grade-based. Some of them are just depending on what you're studying. Some of them are dependent on your background and things like that, or even where you're from. But our private scholarship portal houses over 700 scholarships. That is a really big number, and that is a lot of scholarship money that we have available to students. In this scholarship portal, and I'll tell you guys, this portal is pretty new. It did not exist when I was a student just a few years ago, but it allowed you to fill out one big scholarship application, and then you're automatically matched with, and then automatically submitted your application for all different scholarships that you qualify for. When I was a student, I had to research all of them. I had to see what I qualified for and then had to apply to every single one individually, which takes a lot of time and energy. So having this portal available to students saves a lot of that time, which allows them to be able to focus on school and focus on their studies. So that has been a really big plus. And then we also have work study programs. Work study is a federal program, so every college and university has something like it. And this allows you to work on campus. And there's a couple different ways that you get paid for it. Some students are paid hourly, and that's how they pay their housing fees and different things like that. And then there are some that provide a tuition waiver. So these are just a couple of different options in how you can sometimes get experience in what you're interested in, but be able to cover some of your tuition and fees. I was lucky enough that I found a work study program that allowed a tuition waiver and an hourly wage. So I was able to cover some of my tuition, and then I was able to also pay the bills, as they say. So like I said, we really do try at Marshall to offer a lot of financial assistance. We do a lot with our financial aid counselors to work with individual students on various situations, maybe the type of background or income you're coming from, and just those sorts of things. And they work a lot in trying to find as much money as possible to help you get into college and get through college. I am rounding out here. I don't know, Beth, if there are any final questions before I
Yeah.
finish up here.
Well, let's try this. Let's, teachers, ask your students to think of some positive qualities that Marshall University has. We'd love to hear what they like and what they think is positive. And throw those answers in the chat and we'll look at those. And if time allows and we have some extra questions, you can also throw those in the chat too before we finish up. So great job explaining all that Marshall has to offer. You could probably go on all day about all
Yeah.
that Marshall has to offer. I do think that once you're part of the Marshall family, that it is very special. And no matter where you go, if you're traveling or somewhere in life, whether it's a job, you will always connect with someone that has a Marshall University tie. So I know firsthand it's one big family.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I will even
So-
say that my mom was a Marshall graduate. My aunt was a Marshall graduate. I just went to Morgantown for a conference, and I had people coming up to me during the whole conference saying, I graduated from Marshall. I got my degree from Marshall. So we are certainly all over the place. We call ourselves the herd, and we are definitely a herd. Even whenever I went to Los Angeles, California a few years back, I was wearing a Marshall shirt there, and someone came up to me on the boardwalk and was like, oh my gosh, I went to Marshall, and it was the craziest thing ever. So, but we
Yeah.
really are a big family, and we are a big family that's all about helping each other. I think that's something that's really unique to Marshall, that
Yeah.
if you come across someone else from Marshall, they will help you as best as they can in whatever your situation might be.
Absolutely. So we have some general comments here. So Man Middle School, they want to know, have you had any successful video game designers come out of Marshall's video game design program?
So that program is pretty new. I think we only had the first round of graduates just in the last year or two. So nobody's super notable yet, but they are getting started in their careers. So who knows, maybe even this year we might hear of some really up and coming video game producers, but none so far, still a little too fresh to have any notable ones.
Okay. And then we have a comment from the West Virginia Schools for the Deaf and Blind. They said, we liked that students can express themselves through art and the amount of scholarships available.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been talking, I am trying to finish my master's degree, but I am really interested in taking some of the art classes just kind of for fun. I am kind of like an artist on the side, and there's just so much that there is still to learn about art, and so many different types of art that I really didn't even know existed that we have classes for. So that is definitely, I think, a really big plus of Marshall. I did realize you all also had the question about ASL interpreters earlier, and I forgot to answer that. We do offer all sorts of different interpreters for classes and for learning, but we also teach ASL classes as well. So we have students going through our communication studies program, and they actually get to take ASL as their language credit. So we do also teach that as well. That's a class that I've been trying to sneak my way into myself. You YouTube can only go so far in teaching ASL. So and it's a class that gets filled up really fast. We have a lot of students that take that class and are interested in taking that class. So we do offer that.
That's wonderful. Well, our time is at the end, so I'm going to let you tell them how they can connect with you, and then I'm going to remind the schools about a couple of things. So I'm going to hand it back over to you so you can tell them how to connect.
Yeah, so you can see here, we do have our different social media handles. You can find us on Facebook at Marshall University, and then we're Marshall U Apply on Twitter and Instagram. The bottom there is our recruitment email, recruitment@marshall.edu. If you do have any questions or you're interested in visiting Marshall University, please feel free to shoot us an email and we will definitely make that happen for you. I will also say my personal email is buffy.6six@marshall.edu, and you are more than welcome to also directly reach out to me as well.
Thank you so much for guiding us on this virtual tour today, Buffy.
Of course, I